Mhm.
I was enjoying the song, yeah?
So was I. So was I.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. How are you doing today? Today has been a very good day. I caught up on a lot of learning and things that I wanted to catch up on today, and I'm really excited about that. My name is Adiola Kingsley James, and I'm here with two somewhat wonderful people. Okay, I take it with somewhat. Two of my very good friends and my personal heartbeats. Boom, 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 boom. Oh yeah.
I don't understand your own introduction.
So
Praise,
introduce
go
yourself.
ahead.
It's not my job.
You're the
Okay.
black one amongst us, so
My name is Praise Forward, and I'm so excited to be here. I mean, Christmas is in the air, and I'm so.
yes.
I mean, when I was growing up, nobody asked me, what do you want for Christmas?
Really?
I mean,
Not even as an Anglican son's an Anglican child's son.
Ubom-
An Anglican
Ubom-
son's
And
So-
Anglican
priest
I
son.
son.
one of the worst things you can do to the children that we have right now is to ask them, what do you want for Christmas? Because by the time they present their list, you're going to ask yourself,
Who asked me?
So the children had to send their list, and myself and their mom, we had to sit down to say, okay, how do we go about this, funding this?
Was it heart beating?
It was heart beating.
Okay.
It made me feel like
Those kind of
it made me
toys.
feel like I was Elon Musk.
Oh my goodness.
But I mean,
Aren't you?
oh yeah, I
You
am.
know?
I mean, we're
There
billionaires,
you go. Trillionaires, that's
trillionaires. So, but I mean, we have to make it happen, So, and I'm excited, about the fact that we had some discussions and they're learning about money because my son works, he distributes newspapers, so he hands,
Fantastic.
So it was saying, so it was telling me how much is made in 6 months, and it was saying to me that now I understand what you go through because I'm looking at, say, I work for 6 months. Look at the
Small money that I put together.
no money I put together. He said, Dad, I don't want ice cream anymore. I don't
love
want
that.
any of these things anymore.
Yes.
He said, it's assets. We have to
You know
put
what?
this money.
I have to tell you a story because I always tell people this story.
What's your name, first of all? Let people know what your name is.
Hi, my name is Bookie, and it's nice to be back on
Yes.
this
Yeah,
table.
we
She's
missed you,
been missing.
I've been
Exactly.
missing for 3 weeks. I had a little bit too much going on for me, and then I wasn't feeling too well. And anyway, I'm
I
back.
hope it wasn't cool.
Well,
Let's just say.
it wasn't.
I heard about
No,
it.
but
I have it on
Yeah,
yeah,
good
that's scary.
authority.
I know that it wasn't.
Yeah,
That it
Give
wasn't,
a test,
yeah.
at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm fine. I still have a cold and cough, but I'm fine.
You're not spreading the.
I'm not spreading coronavirus.
Only
no.
spread the love,
I'm only spreading love.
Very
Okay.
good. It's the season.
It's the season to
Yes.
spread love. See, I even came in sparkly.
Yes,
came
I
in
can
sparkly
see, I can
today.
see.
You know,
You know,
But
brightened up my face a
That's your
little.
default,
you're always shining, eh?
Mm. Anyway, I wanted to tell a story based off of what you were just saying now about how your son is learning about money and working and earning, and when I first moved to the UK, my late sister now, who was the eldest, was there before me. So I'd been there for so I went in September, so maybe we're looking at sometime in November, right? So I'd been there for about 3 months or so. And one day we're walking up the street closer to home, and then there was this corner shop on the side. It was a really hot, I mean, it wasn't hot, but it wasn't cold either. But I wanted something. I wanted an ice cream. And then, one of those nice ice lollies we used to buy then, was about £1, right? So I say to her, oh, can you give me £1 to buy ice cream? And she looked at me and she said, when you start working,
You can buy yourself.
you can buy yourself an ice cream.
Uh-huh.
That's it.
And you found your.
And how long did it
Fund-
take
fund
for you
your
to get a
vanity.
job?
No, just hang on. And I looked at her with
pain.
pain. And I said to her, I said, you will never see this thing again to me.
Really?
That's what I said to her. I said, this thing that you just told me. Because I was like, but it's only one
One
pound.
pound,
Like,
yeah.
I mean, like, it's just 1 pound.
Yeah.
It's 1 pound.
No.
And she's like, yeah, I know it's just 1 pound. But then think about how many 1 pounds that you will be able to spend when you get your own job and you can earn your own money.
Wow. I love it.
And I was like, you'll see. The next day, I went to KFC. I got a job.
There you go.
So when I came back at the end of the day and I was like, I've got a job, I was just like, oh, really? I said, that's when I said to her, I said, you will never tell me ever again that when I'm working, I can buy myself an ice cream.
Yeah, but what she said gingered you.
I
she
know.
had to say it.
But like, do you understand what I mean? Like, I don't think anybody had ever said
that to you
that
before?
to me before
In that way.
even when growing
what to say to
even
you.
no,
Yeah.
even when
I know
growing
what to say
no
to you.
even when growing up even when growing up that then you know like like you know those juicy
Mhm.
drinks they were like a when you're done something particularly good or mommy was particularly feeling
Happy.
generous
Mhm.
with you, you know, she would give you a little bit on a
Mhm.
Sunday, you know, and it wasn't so much it was because I can afford it and you can't, but I mean like it just
But
I couldn't-
you needed to hear it.
Well,
Sorry.
it was-
I couldn't take it.
I do that with
my
my
spirit
5-year-old.
could not take it,
I
and
do
I was
that-
just
do that
like,
with
Yeah,
my
you used to
5-year-old.
have-
I
man,
said
you
to
will
her,
never say this
like,
thing again
you
to
can
me.
buy anything you want, but you need to first of all think of how you're going to make the money.
Uh-huh.
And so, and I
Fund your
gave her
vanity.
options.
Yeah.
I said, you can either clean my shoes, or we can bake cakes and take it outside and sell, or we can make lemonade and go outside and stand outside and sell. But if you want anything, you have to come to me with how you intend to make the money
Mhm.
to buy it. My son now sells catfish. He rears catfish and he sells them. This holiday, he had like 3 or 4 of us. I mean, we all supported him and bought all the catfish. But he had raised or grown or what's it called?
That's-
33 catfish.
That's it.
And he made almost 20-something thousand naira from it.
You
So I'm
got-
like,
you gotta
I
make
will
me
now open an
responsible.
account. Yes,
You
let's
gotta
open
make
an
me-
account for you. So yeah, so responsibility.
Responsibility
Children
and
need to be responsible.
I think you can
And-
people just
and-
they have
and
something about
teaching
this
it.
pound, one
No,
pound.
money
Yeah.
is not easy.
yeah.
You know, I
And you know, I'm sorry. I need to now tell another story. Joining that
So
one.
you
So
buy
did
shit
you,
with your
you
money.
regret? You
No,
should
no,
have
no,
to.
no, no. I didn't show her. No, no, no. I was always very, very nice to Tori. You know that. I gave her everything that I could give her without any regrets, right? But I remember one time, then those big packs of juices, we used to buy them at the pound store. There was 2.
Mhm.
There was the orange and the black currant, so you could get 2 for
Mhm.
a pound, right? So I remember one time, mommy came to visit, and you know, I'd gone to the stores and I bought this 2 big packs of
Mhm.
juicy and I put it in the
In the
in the
kitchen.
kitchen, you know, and I think she came in and I think I was making mine with a lot of ice and all of that stuff, you know. And then I'd put quite like I
lot.
ate quite a bit of the juicy because then you know it was very tiny.
Mhm.
By the time you add water, the thing
It's
doesn't have
tasteless.
taste anymore, right?
It's water
I
featuring.
swear,
juicy.
water juicy. So she said to me, she was like, "Ah, Buki, that's a lot." And I was like, I bought it.
I made the money.
I was like, I bought it. I guess not. It's
I
mine,
can drink.
not
It's
yours.
mine.
Yes,
I drink it.
Anyways,
So thank you all for being
I
here
just
today.
wanted to
Thank
give
you all for
that
joining
little
us today.
story.
We
You've been
really,
spoiled.
really
Your
appreciate it.
stubbornness have teeth.
I'm telling you.
It's not today. It's not today. It's not today at all.
So last week we
Mhm.
started off talking about child abuse,
Mm.
and we spoke about physical abuse and how we treat our children and how we're so quick to spank them and how we are victims of victims, growing victims who also victimize their victims.
It's a mouthful.
And that is scary. But I mean, we can start from somewhere, and I think for us, is you should start from being conscious
Yeah.
of what you're doing and what you're doing wrong and how you can do better. We spoke about training up a child. I mean, people, the reason why they are beating children is because they say in the Bible that foolishness is in the loins of the child, is the rod of correction that will bring it out. And well, it was Solomon at the time that was saying it.
Yeah, Solomon.
Not
God.
Yes, not
Jesus.
God. Yes, not Jesus. It was Solomon that was saying it because he had to do so. I mean, he had maybe about 1 million children, didn't he?
Not
From 1,000 women.
1,000 women.
Okay, so calculate times. Let's say each of them had one. How many is that? 1,000 children, right? What's the difference between 1,000 children and 1 million children? So that's so we talked about that, and now something though, and
probably had like a couple of thousands of children.
He
I'm
must
sorry,
have
I'm just
had
thinking about it. Yeah,
a couple of thousands, you know.
You were assuming that all of them were fat, huh?
Well, okay, that's an assumption.
No, but then there's I'm not assuming.
I thought some of them had two children, three children.
One night stand, you know.
Yeah, that could have also been pregnant.
It's all sorry.
It doesn't matter how short the night was.
Ethiopian people are also claiming him. That
it doesn't matter how short the night was, my brother.
The Queen of Sheba that came to visit him, that they had something and they gave birth to. So they have
some heirs of the throne of some.
That's why they have some Jews in Ethiopia and whatever.
There you go.
Whichever way. So he must have had some stubborn children.
He must have had some, and he thought maybe Cain.
But he didn't also specify the rod. He didn't say Cain.
Yeah, correct.
Again.
Yeah, correct.
So, like we said, that way people have been colonized and people have been what was the word? Brutalized. Yes. You know, the rod of correction.
And slavery, right?
The rod of correction is koboko, is belt, is all those things, you know. But to a generation who has never been trained of those things, rod of correction can be communication, you know, because it says that rod and the staff, they comfort me. So rod can comfort. It's not the kind of rod that, so what kind of rod is comforting? You need to ask that question, you know. But you know, the way we interpret these things, we just interpret through our lens, you know, because so when you say rod, the first thing that comes to your mind, and when you see the way, even when you see the way shepherds outside Nigeria, you know, tend to their sheep. They don't beat like we do.
Yeah.
You know, again, there's
We're
animal rights.
And there's animal.
Exactly, it's animal rights.
There's animal rights. So it's not, so rod to them is not, you know.
It's not koboko.
It's not koboko again. So we
well, not to us, it's koboko plus wire.
We interpret Bible through our lens of you know, our culture and our pain and what it is, you know, and not be, never forget that this book came out of you know, came out of what do you call it now? Is Asia? Wait, Israel is
What, the Bible?
Middle East. It came out of the Middle East.
Yeah.
And if you situate it, because when people actually try to interpret the Bible, you know, they don't understand that you need to look at the pretext, which is what is before post-text, the environment and the context, which is very key. So the best way to actually describe it, okay, so David was tending sheep, right? And he had to say that a particular sheep actually strayed, right? He didn't beat that sheep. He went after the lion or the bear, you know, and killed and brought that. So that was rod of correction, you know. So
but it was rod of correction on the bear.
Yeah, on the bear, not on the.
Yeah, he killed him now.
No, kill the bear, not the sheep.
I know.
The sheep.
I know.
So, but
that was
what
rod of correction on the bear, which is
it's not rod of correction.
Exactly.
It was defense.
So it was defense.
Yes. So we need to understand that, and that's I mean that's very instructive that you brought up right now. That when a child strays, we beat the child, not the bear. That's what we do. So our rod of correction is on the child,
and not
the
so we're dealing with the child,
yes,
rather than dealing with what caused the child to act that way.
But that's how we naturally treat ourselves.
Yeah.
We don't deal with the person, with the problem.
We
deal with the person. So we say you're a stupid child because you did something stupid. So now, rather than saying your behavior was stupid, not you, but the thing you did was stupid. Without you don't have to use those words. But I'm saying attack the thing.
You can even use the word.
Yeah.
A lot of us
Use all kinds of words.
you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not to say you are stupid, but
But
that
you've done a
action,
stupid thing.
That action was
stupid.
irresponsible.
Yeah, but
of
then we
you,
don't
yes.
and interpret it that way
Yeah,
anyway.
so it's a lot of correction. So we even now have an English
We don't
saying
judge you on that.
that now says the Bible. Spare the rod
And
and
spoil
spoil
the
the child. It's
child.
not in the Bible. It's an English saying, and I don't know where they got it from because even the English people don't
Don't believe in
Aha.
in spanking.
So when you
yeah.
talk like this, I mean, because I'm sensitive to the environment, and I know if people are taking me up on these things, like they'll tell you you're trying to westernize our children, and my response to them has always been trying to westernize your children, but everything on your prayer list are things made by children that you say have been spoiled from this Western country,
There you go.
and then they begin to look at me. And never forget that we now gave 7 things to consider before spanking a child.
Yeah.
Never beat a child for what you have not taught
Not
him.
taught him.
Never
Yes.
beat a child without giving him chance to assimilate what you have taught him.
Mm.
Never beat a child when you are hungry because you made them eat a child.
Mhm.
Never beat a child when there is no data to back the fact that beating can correct that
Can
behavior.
correct the person.
Never beat a child when there are other disciplinary measures outside of beating.
And maybe you haven't given
Never
them
beat a child when you have not
giving them the option or
proud to the time the offense is committed.
I think
the
beating
punitive
even
measure-
hardens kids. I
Yeah,
don't really
and the
think it
last thing,
makes
never beat a
any.
child without giving him the chance to defend
to
himself.
defend
at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, and by the time if you go through those 7, you realize that you won't have a reason to
beat
to
the
beat
child.
a child.
Yeah.
Because if we're position ourselves as students to say what can I learn from what is happening, you realize that we're less judgmental, than and it's oftentimes our frustration that we're our
Do
aggression.
you think that sometimes the way that we respond to kids is not necessarily because that it might be out of fear? I don't know how to elaborate aside from giving this thing that happened to me, right? So must have been about 8 or 9 or so thereabout, and then my cousins used to live in our house. We used to all live together. And this particular night, for some reason everybody decided to gang up on me. I can't remember the details, but no. I mean, like my cousins, we just weren't getting along for some odd reason, right? So I got irritated, I got frustrated, and then hi Nene. I got frustrated, and then I went to my room and said, because I don't want anybody coming to disturb me, I locked the door, right? And I literally cried myself to sleep. So I cried myself to sleep, and I was awakened with bulala. It was first of all like a truck had slammed into the room because the door opened with so much force, which made me first of all jump up, and then I was descended on, right? But by my dad, because they'd come to bed and was trying to get into the room, and it was locked, and they couldn't. So they kept knocking and knocking and knocking until my dad literally broke the door through, broke the door down and burst into the room and descended on me. So I don't know why I remember that incident just now, but it just flashed in my mind, and at that time I may have thought this man is a wicked man. You didn't even allow me explain what happened. You didn't even give me the benefit of the doubt. You didn't allow me explain. You didn't even ask any questions. You've just jumped in and you started beating me. I fell asleep. Of course, I couldn't maybe at that time even express those things because I didn't even have the opportunity to express it. But I now just for some reason just thought maybe he thought something had happened. What if we don't know what's happened to her. She's gone and locked herself in the room. No. I'm just saying.
No. I wasn't.
I'm not even. Yes. I'm not trying to make any excuse for that behavior, so to speak. But I think maybe sometimes the harshness, the harsh reactions, might actually be maybe sometimes out of misplaced fear or concern.
It's usually, there are 2 motivations. Pleasure and pain. That pain is born out of fear to say, oh, I don't want my daughter to turn out badly because of what people will say. To say, like, for lack of a better word, in the Yoruba parlance, and so you call yourself, who would even listen to you that you didn't turn out right, So and the way they learned to correct people is by, remember, they worked function in the military era. It's to force the child by. Meanwhile, they are guilty of so many things that they're not beating
I
themselves.
was going to say that because I think that fear is also from a place of this is what I do.
Yeah.
Or this is what I did.
Yes, and I know even with me, I think my dad saw himself a lot in me.
Yeah.
And he thought that if he left me, I would then become
Like him.
something. Now what he didn't understand was he was acting out his own problem. It wasn't me.
Yeah, it was projected.
It wasn't me. It was so you project our parents project what their own problems are, what they are dealing with personally on their children, and then now you now think you own the child, and so I would subdue you. I would beat you to a point where I would break you and finish you.
So that's punishment and domestication.
And so at the end of the day, you have a lily-livered child or you have a hard-hearted child.
Yeah.
And you have, in both ways, you have lost the child.
Yeah, and they don't know, because when they successfully domesticate you, they think that you are disciplined. That's what we call discipline.
Yeah.
To say, so if you ask, and this is what I say to schools, if you ask who is a good child in a school, it's likely that child will never create trouble,
Yes,
never
very
ask questions,
intelligent, passes all his
very
exams.
quiet, and then well behaved. The one who troubleshoots, who questions everything, that's the bad child. They say it's rude.
See, we have to do something on who is a good child. Remember?
Oh yeah. So so then you begin to ask yourself. At the end of the day, you find out that the other guy is just pretending, because he's been tamed. The capacity to question people, to fight evil has been taken away from him. And so you find that other one, or is asking a lot of questions. What we try to do now is to domesticate that one. So we bully him. We call his parents. Bring your parents to school. We don't see him as confident. We don't see him as assertive. We don't see him as many of the person. And these are the things that we need to begin to look at and say, is our right actually right? And who defines this right? Because a lot of us, we grew up with low self-esteem, and our parents didn't know about it.
We still have low self-esteem.
There was a conversation going on social media over the last 1 week on the pain that people went through in the boarding house that parents never got to find out.
I didn't go to
and because
you kind of did.
I tweeted,
well, that's different.
I tweeted about it, and I said, if we open the Me Too boarding house version, as in I said, this place will burn.
There will be no more boarding house.
What does Me Too?
Also, the Me Too movement.
I'm sorry, I'm hardly on social media.
Sorry, guys.
That's good.
Yes. I'll call you right back. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, so I mean, Me Too, as when R. Kelly's saga happened,
right?
So there was this hashtag of Me Too.
Okay.
People should voice out.
Right.
I'm sorry, people have been.
Things that have happened to them as well.
I was saying that if we opened.
Did you go to a boarding school?
I mean, I went, at some point,
Somewhat.
and I was very close to. So I used to know what
used to happen there.
Because I mean, my first 3 siblings, my father was not really disposed to, but I forced myself at some point and pulled away after a while. That if they open because, and again, a lot of parents send their children to the boarding house, because they feel boarding house will
shape them up. Yes. Wait until you get to boarding school.
What the seniors do to
Yes.
in fact,
they subdue you. They almost want to take your human. I mean, I didn't go to a boarding school, but the school that I went to had boarding facilities. I don't think I ever asked anybody to do anything for me in my entire time in secondary school. Never. Carry that thing. Never.
If we measure the
role,
role,
how people treated children.
If we measure the role the boarding house plays in the rise of the LGBT movement in Nigeria.
That's another. That's
Mm.
another.
That's a
place.
conversation
That's
we're not ready for.
another
Yeah.
place.
Because
Yeah.
boys are sodomized in a lot of
And
body
girls too.
Girls
And girls
are
too.
Yes.
molested
Yes.
heavily.
Yeah.
You know, so their
Yeah.
life is not the same at the end of the day. But parents, when they get back home and they become quiet,
Hey.
parents are saying, "Yeah,
They
hi,
have,
you're not
they
Mm.
have
mature."
trained you.
So there are things. I mean, not at all of teachers molestation and
Yeah.
what have you.
Yeah. Well, you're actually exposed to a lot more harm than
Yeah.
you are exposed to good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this
And you know, it's
happens,
funny because I mean, I still have a very strong community in terms of with some of my school people.
Mm.
And sometimes when we get together and we talk about some of the things that happened, that we went through, you know, a lot of them come out saying, "Oh, you know, I mean, thank God for commando, because you know, if I no go command, I know for be this kind sharp person where I be or things like that." And then I feel like sometimes it's almost like a cover up. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
because people there were some
People were
hard
damaged,
times,
yes.
and this particular guy one particular guy who said to somebody that they don't particularly want to be in any group or any association or whatever because they didn't have a very good time in the school. And I'll admit I was one of those that said I don't think there was anybody that had
A
that
good time.
much of a fantastic time in school. So you cannot use what happened in school to now be saying because of that you don't want to associate with anybody. But I mean that's your own headache or whatever. But the truth is a lot of people didn't have a good time in boarding schools. I suffered in my boarding school in SS1.
And they
I
couldn't tell their
suffered
parents.
under my school mother,
Uh-huh.
Really?
Anu Bankole. I have to call her name because I mean we're cool now, whatever. But like, you remember when you guys came to Bitkoboko?
Anyway, okay, you want to join the conversation? 070 I think we have to do something on body now. Yeah, body now, yeah.
And what we go through.
Yeah,
Yes,
070 You want to join the conversation? Yes, feel free to call on the show today. 070 I mean, let's hear from you. Okay, so
last week as well, you gave an assignment that people should should record their conversations with their children,
yeah.
or get somebody to record. Well, I didn't record, but what I did was I became more conscious of the way that I spoke. And you know, I've also realized that a lot of times the reason why we speak the way we speak is because of what we're battling inwardly.
internally, the inner demons.
Yeah, and so rather than us, you know, controlling our demons, we take it out on should I say, unfortunately, on our children, you know, or the people that we feel we have control over. And I think that that's something that we need to work on. I don't know if anybody did the assignment and what your experience was. If you want to share it, please share. And if it's something you also would like to do, please do it. You know, let's become conscious of how we're parenting and do better than our parents. And we don't blame our parents for what they did. However, we can do better, and because we know better.
Yeah.
The other thing we then also stopped with, where we stopped also, was who has the responsibility of training a child.
Yeah.
Now, the people will say Adam went to work, Eve was at home.
Oh my.
So it was Eve, women are homemakers. Their work is in the kitchen and in the house. The husbands are meant to go out and look for the children. It's the mother that trains
What
the
was she
child.
making?
Yoruba people will say, oh, it is a good child, it's the father's child, it's a bad child, it's the mother's child. So there's a lot of what do we see in that space of saying,
No, I'm just saying, go and talk to your son.
your son, you know.
But when your son does well,
yes, he's my son, you know. And so, who really has the responsibility? Because I'll say what I think. I think it's both parents, but maybe I'm talking nonsense. Maybe someone else can add in
as
to this.
Is a risk to the child if the two of you are not on the same page on the template for raising the child.
Yeah.
If you don't come together as a couple and say, this is the trait, I mean, like we have said severally on this show, you need to fit into the role. And there are different roles, different milestones. So ages 0 to 3, you are a scout.
Yeah.
Ages 4 to 6, you are a model, right? You model everything, competence, whatever you do from that age, your child will do, right? From ages 7 to 9, you are an instructor. You teach your child. From ages 10 to 12, you are a friend. Because that's the age where they keep a lot of secrets. So you want to rent a space and get. Then from 13 to 18, you're a coach. Then from 19, you're a cheerleader and technical advisor. The child not obliged to listen to
They are on their own at that time.
now, if you don't understand this, and the two of you don't come together to say, "Hey, we have to be present in the life of our children, of our child, and do what we need to do," because if it's one-sided, and that's why I always want Nigerian men that see, if you leave the raising of a child solely to the woman, right, your child has a plan for you, and you will have seen the plan that the moment he starts having his own children, he moves his mother. You are the one that will be lonely.
Yeah.
So a lot of Nigerian men are going to be lonely, because
my mother did everything for me.
So
Yeah.
you console yourself thinking, but I'm paying school fees. A child does not know pay school fees. The person that shows up on the most important days in his
Is
life
the one that he
is the one that
holds.
he
Yeah.
holds, So you're not even doing very well for yourself because your child doesn't have an experience. What to share with children moments, right? And you want to ensure that you're present in those moments. When you're you take a walk together. There are lessons you teach beside the pool. We call it anchoring. But if the two of you are not together, I mean, if it's one parent or single parenting, we understand. But if the two of you, because a lot of fathers are absent fathers.
Absolutely, but they're there.
So
They're not really
we
fathers.
need to understand that it's not the woman's responsibility; it's the responsibility of both of you.
Mm.
You both gave birth to this child, and you both need to be responsible for the raising of the child.
So
And
what do you think about this school of thought? So it will continue what you're saying, where they say, "Look, my child, the child is still going to be in my house for the next 18 years. So whatever I miss now, I'll catch up with later."
You can't catch up, because
You can, because the child will even remember that you were never there.
you're not going to catch up. In fact, you have to catch
erase
up. You have
those
to first
memories.
apologize to your child, because you are assuming that 18 years is a long time. It runs so fast that life does not wait for anything.
Yeah.
So take for instance someone who's prioritize career over the child. So you just like, okay, I'll make up. You don't know make up because for example, if you're supposed to be a scout from age 0 to 3,
and you're not there,
you didn't observe, you didn't even have any memory of what your child was doing between that age. What are you going to scout? You're not
what are you going
scouting.
to say?
Then you're supposed to be a model between ages.
4 and
In
6.
fact, Bill Gates' dad ensured that he kept Mark Zuckerberg's dad ensured that he kept an office at home. Right. So they asked him why did you do that. He said we needed to model how to work for oneself and how to work for others to him.
Wow.
He said because at that development from ages 4 to 5 thereabout, he said he also set up his own office at home. Said so everything he saw his father did, So you need to understand those things and that your child is not. I mean, so sometimes people come from.
I'm sorry, because your child is a child is a reflection of his environment.
So people come to my seminars sometimes and they go back home and they want to go engage the child and I say the child is speaking to them. Where have you been all this while?
Yeah.
So you want to come and teach me about sex?
Where are you coming from?
You want to come and teach me about sex at 14?
That I've been having.
You get. So I always say to them, the first thing you need to do is go and apologize and say, I'm so sorry, I didn't know better. Then you ask for permission. You can't even impose yourself. You ask for permission for them to accept you into their world because they need to, and they won't trust you immediately. And so the first thing is not to even come to say you're coming to teach. You are coming to learn. So because you cannot be a child's teacher without also becoming the student. So you have to say, okay, what can you teach me? Can you teach me a dance step? Can you teach me this? Now that is called rapport. Once you build rapport, then you can now broach some topics and know what they know about before you now begin a balanced perspective. But if you come with the arrogance of I am your that doesn't it doesn't work with Generation Z and Generation Alpha.
It's funny how this conversation is making me like I'm having so many flashbacks of my own, should I say relationship with my dad, who's late now. I remember, for the first 15, 16 years of my life, yes, I lived under the same roof, but I went to boarding school as well, so when we were growing up, it was all very, that oh, daddy's home. I mean, my dad was a very strict one. He was a disciplinarian at home.
007.
I wasn't afraid.
007.
I didn't relate to him out of fear. He just wasn't never really around. And so even times when he would be working, because he was also in the media and production business, when he'd be working and we'll be on set with him, it was nice to
see him
work and see other people work, but we didn't spend a lot of time together. And so by the time I left, I finished secondary school, and I left almost immediately. I moved to the UK. I was there for about 10 years, right? And I was there on my own, and I was doing my own thing and going to school and working, and I was my own person, right? And there was really not very much we would see whenever my folks came to visit, or when once a year I went home or whatnot, but we didn't really have that much
daddy-daughter time.
Yes, father-daughter time. And so when I moved back to Nigeria and I was now living in the house, and there were certain things that I started noticing things, right? And so it's like, okay, so it's not, I didn't have those star in my eyes. I didn't see my dad as the knight in shining armor. I didn't relate with him. Of course, I wasn't, 10 or 11 anymore. I wasn't even 15 anymore. But I didn't see him in those eyes. And I expected him to see me as a grown woman, as somebody he could relate with as another human being, and as as an adult. But he still related with me like the person he left 10 years ago.
He didn't know better.
Yes, I understand that. I'm just saying, and I remember at that point feeling like you don't have a right to come and boss me around now, because you didn't establish you don't have a right. You don't have a right to demand what is happening, to demand to know what is happening in my life, or then be upset that I've told my mom and
because then what you say, go and meet your mom.
Do you understand what I mean?
Go and meet your mother.
And the funny thing is, particularly with me, the relationship I have with my mom now is her effort, not even mine. Because I think she also realized that if she didn't make an effort to now be there, now that we're back home, if she didn't make an effort to be there, I literally would just be like, yo, I would still feel like I was on my own. Because even though I was living in the house with them and under the same roof, and I was, going to work with both of them, it was for me, it was like, okay, so now what work is for me in my mind, right? I've just come back, right? So my English mind is still very fresh. This is a professional situation. So let's leave daddy and daughter at home and let's talk about, let's approach it from.
Daddy don't get that.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, this thing about
taking permission, apologizing,
realizing that,
I
actually, yes, I'm your daughter or your child or whatnot, but like you left me for most of my life, and so now you can't demand, and if it doesn't happen the way you want it to happen, you can't get upset about
it's
it.
their generation, your parents will hurt you for. They'll accuse you of what you did not do.
And not say sorry.
Then when they now find out,
I actually,
they won't
say sorry.
They tapping your back. They
it was
won't tell you
actually
that
difficult
you must
for
have
me.
done something
else.
That
in fact, they will beat you in advance.
Yeah.
Just for that thing that you will still do. Come and collect slap.
So we can't.
It was difficult for me. It was difficult for me to because I was like, okay, I want to do something, and at that point, I'm like, I don't even actually need your permission. I'm just telling you out of courtesy. But like, I didn't feel that, something significant wanted to happen in my life, and I would want to run to my dad and say, I want to have a conversation with you about this. Because I at that point, I felt like if you really want to know, if you really are interested,
ask me.
Yeah, you open the doorway.
The question now is, aren't the present day fathers repeating the same mistake?
Of course, because that's what they know.
Because it's what they know.
That's what they know. They don't, and until you say to yourself that this, I mean, and I even, it's not just the fathers, even the mothers. I'm a mother. And what I also knew too was hard, slap, beats, all those things, shouts, and that's what I administered until I started to understand things differently or learn to be conscious of the things that I was doing. And I can't even say to you that I've not even damaged them yet.
There is nothing like raising. I mean, something happened last week. So my wife was telling the kids that by 8:30 p.m. they needed to submit their gadgets. So she was having a conversation. In fact, she took that decision for them. And my daughter said, "No, Mom, you cannot take this decision because my daddy is not part of this conversation.
That's right,
and he's a member of this family."
But that's them being cheeky.
Wait now.
That's her being cheeky.
He said he's a member of this family. He said because one, you did not consult us. You didn't hear our own part of you didn't allow us to negotiate.
Yes.
And it's a family decision. It cannot be your decision. So said we need to call. Sorry, who is calling? Are we having a call? So she was saying that we need to call my dad.
Yes, let's have a meeting.
So we had to do a Google Hangout session, and they tabled the matter, and so I was like, so what's going on? And my daughter was like, you see that even when you were around, what do we do? And she had a point because at 8 o'clock in Canada, sometimes they're still out. Maybe they go for ice hockey.
Even sunny.
Yeah, ice hockey. So I asked my wife, I said, what time are they supposed to sleep? She said about 11, thereabout. So if they drop their gadget, what would they be doing? So she wants them to learn how to reflect. So I said, children, you want them to reflect. I said, you as an adult, can you reflect for 1 hour? So my daughter was excited. She said, my dad is part of this family.
Yeah, but that's
So I said to them, I said, what we need to do is to fix the dropping of the gadget to a time that is close to when they want to sleep. I said, because this is not realistic, because one, 8:30, they're probably still
very
awake. And even if you want them to reflect, they will still need guided reflection right now, and they need their gadgets to do that. So you can make them see a video
yes,
and let them reflect on that. You're not just going to say, a child that's very rested and my children are very rested. So sit down and begin. What are they reflecting on? You as an adult, you're even struggling to reflect.
Yes.
So eventually we agreed for 10 o'clock. And they said, okay, that's fine. So 10, 3 days after. Now, my wife was making her hair. So I woke up at about 3 a.m. and my daughter was buzzing me. She said, how are you doing? I said, where are you? She said, I'm with my mom and day. She's making my hair. I said, so why
are you still with your gadgets?
My wife was there, the person that wanted them to drop so she couldn't even enforce, so I said, no, go and drop your gadget because this was what we agreed. And you need to keep to this word. Or do you want me to reverse it to
8 o'clock?
But after that conversation, I thought back at would I even my dad was a lion of the tribe of the home. You needed to talk to him. You needed to commit yourself into God's hand and do sign of the cross and rehearse what you wanted to say. You know how frustrating that could be.
Very frustrating.
Used to think that their parents were not their real parents.
Yeah.
Especially I know I said to my dad one day that I'm not sure you're my father. And my older sister said the same thing to him. Like, it's ridiculous.
I actually remember the day he said it.
He beat
Daddy Lou.
bastard.
Say you're not my father. I'm a bastard. You say you are a bastard. Let me come up here.
So now this then kind of leads to sexual abuse.
Oh yeah.
And it's not as funny as it is really, because there's sexual abuse from the boarding schools, even from the non-boarding schools.
It's everywhere.
There's sexual abuse at home.
Yeah.
When your children, I remember last week you said anything your child says you believe.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was really, really deep, because a lot of us in the past, I've had that
Believe
problem.
our-
Like, I
our
don't believe
children.
what you're saying.
Mm.
And I then found out that even when I did believe, they were actually lying.
Mm.
You know, and so it kind of did something to me. However, for me, I just say it's not me you are doing.
And
my
lying,
brother and
lying is
sister.
also a feedback.
Yes.
It's a feedback to say the psychology of lying is I don't trust you with my truth.
Right.
You know, so what environment have I created
Mhm.
that makes my child to lie?
That's so deep.
About what
That's
you know,
so
but
deep.
you know, I'm going to use an example. So I saw something broken in my house, and I asked my daughter who broke it. She said, "I don't know. It's not me." And I asked her about 3 times, and she said it's not me. So I believed her, and I kept it moving. And so a couple of days after, I mentioned it again, and my house manager said to me, "Oh, it's my daughter that broke it." I said, "No, she told me she didn't break it." She said, "I saw her after she broke it, put it together." So I called my daughter and I said, "Why did you lie to me?" And she was looking. I said, "When you tell me the truth, have I ever disciplined you for telling the truth?" She said, "No." I said, "So why did you lie?"
Why she lied because she has learned, you know, a child appears on this planet without any right and wrong,
Right.
right? So, and a child is not just learning from you; she's also learning from the environment. So she had seen people who told the truth get beaten.
Right.
So she unconsciously learns that on this planet, the way to avoid
It's to
pain
lie.
is to lie and not own up to what you have done, right? So,
Because
but
I actually I called her into my room and I said, why did you think you needed to lie? And she couldn't answer.
so our confidence is being dealt with in one way or the other, you know. So it may not even be you. There's someone who shouts
Someone else,
on
yes.
people's, who picks on people's fault, people's mistakes around that vicinity, you know, and that's what she's reacting to. So you want to check to say, okay, so how did you feel about this? Get into a discussion. There's not a time for. I mean, I know you have a grip on it. So what happened here? You know, how did you feel? What would you have done better? You know, and can you give me 5 effects of lying? You know, what does it do to you? Because it's not about me, it's about you. What does it do to you when you know the truth and you say something else? Right? So what you are doing at that point is you are working on our inner, we call it innertions, it's inner science. Then you now ask her, who are you? Every misbehavior can be attributed to 2 things: a non-discovery of self and a non-remembrance of self.
It's
If
still the
you
same thing.
if you don't know, no,
If
it's
you
not.
don't, no, I'm
It's not the
just,
same.
I'm just saying eventually
Yeah.
is that you don't
So
know
if
yourself.
you don't know who you are,
Yeah, you
and if you forget who you are,
yeah.
right? So every time a child does what is wrong, it's an opportunity to remind, because the environment is scripted
Yeah.
to stay for you to
label
lose
you.
your identity.
Yeah.
That's the way it's scripted,
Yeah.
you know, because that's why you say, oh, this person, this is my colleague, you know, he's bought this car, what's wrong with my life? You know, then you're wondering, are we not all in this name Nigeria? Where are they making this money from? And things like that. It's scripted to challenge who you are, right? And you see some other people,
You're constantly proving yourself.
then you see some of the ladies on campus, you know, who slept around with everybody, they are married and you are not married, and you are wondering,
as good as I was.
This
Are we
goodness.
not? Are we not? Is that not a God?
It's as if this goodness does not
pay.
and whatever badness doesn't look like it has any consequence and things like that, you know. So that's where the environment is scripted, and that's why you say one thing you must not take from your child is your child's identity, and you must guard it with everything and ensure that you remind them consistently of who they are till they master it. Because once they attain that level, anywhere you take them to. So when parents say to me, my child left for Canada and in 1 year started smoking marijuana, and they Canada has spoiled me. I said, Canada did not spoil your child. Canada revealed your child. In fact, Canada is the examination that was set to show you the level of work you have done.
Yes.
So Canada is a feedback. It's not, I don't think Canada spoiled your child. It's always been there. You know, so what I think we need to understand is what it's like when a child steals, for example, is a psychology of scarcity.
Of lack.
Yeah. So when a child lies, is a psychology of I don't trust you with my truth.
Right.
You know, so what do I need to do? In understanding, what do I need to do that will make you own up to anything that everybody to know that I'm in your corner? Right. You have that conversation, you know, and you test again. So what I say to parents is don't teach a child something without making the child write an examination for it.
Right.
So if you teach your child stuff like don't eat outside the house without my permission,
Mm-hmm.
right? Send your child to
Book his
Book
house.
his house. Book is their auntie, you know. You know they will let down their guard. Tell, okay, I'm not going to give them food, but offer them food. You know, so Bookie offers them food
And they eat.
They eat.
Gladly.
Right? When they come
My
back,
children will eat it gladly.
when
They
they
don't
come,
even think
Auntie
twice.
Bookie
Uh-huh.
gave me.
when they come back, you ask them, did you eat? Right? Because you need to test that. They say we did not eat, or they now say they ate. Why did you eat? But I told you. So what were you thinking? Right? But repeat that. Say, okay, whether it's Auntie Bookie
Or anybody.
get
Or grandma.
clearance from me. Call, right, and say, are we allowed to eat? Then teach that again. Then maybe in a month, right?
Examine them
again
Right.
till they master it.
Right.
After a while, you realize that they master. So
Right.
we just teach, we never examine,
Mm.
you know, and eventually when I say the child did not master it, the child did not,
You can't.
and so that's why we teach
Repetition.
future pacing
Yeah.
here. So
Repetition.
now say, okay,
Mastery.
so if this happens in sometime in another 2 weeks, what will you do differently? You know, so you put them ahead of time in that situation. That's why parenting is a lot of work.
It
It
is.
is. It is.
It's a lot of work.
It is.
When I
And
see
it's,
them with
and it's
six-
not just the
It
mother's
is.
work.
I see them with 6, 7 children. I'm
It
wondering.
is.
Hmm.
How? You know, and so we started going into sexual abuse, guys.
Yeah, and you see what we
Are
do.
you sure we can talk about
No, we
sexual
can't talk about it
abuse
next
today?
year. Next year, because this is our final show for the year.
Yeah.
right?
It's a final show for the
Sexual abuse is, you know, we never know the role we play in setting up our child, in setting up the child
To feel.
to fall into sexual abuse,
Wow.
because sexual abuse happens when there's a vacuum,
Yeah.
and usually the abuser comes in to fill the vacuum, right? So that person who understands you, who gets you, who is there for you, that favorite uncle who buy you ice cream, what your parents are not likely to do, you want, that person. I mean, abusers are usually very nice people. They're just there for you. You just let down your guard. They begin to teach you secrecy
Yeah.
before they make a demand on your sexuality.
Yeah.
So it's a whole lot.
Take
And
this ice cream, don't tell
But
me.
it's not all situations. I mean, they're the infants, kids who are before they even understand what is
Anything,
happening
yeah.
at
those
all.
ones are
Those ones are
perverts.
bad.
Perverts
Just need to be, I'm sorry, killed.
well, not again.
Yeah.
I know a lot has gone wrong in them,
Yeah.
but they shouldn't be on the road. They should be tied up somewhere that they can be renewing their mind
I get
every
what- I
day.
get what you mean.
But
So
they shouldn't be on the road with normal people.
sexual abuse is real. I mean, I worked in Nigeria with over, I must have worked with over 5,000 young people, ages 13 to maybe 20 something, right? And I had access to them for 7 years of my life.
Wow.
Their parents did not show up once
Wow.
to even find out
How
who
their
is
child is
teaching
doing.
you, what are they teaching you, what's happening. I've had people live in my house whose parents never even bothered to say what's going
Where are
on.
you?
So it's again, it goes back to parenting to say, what have you taught your child?
No, but first of all, what do you know?
What do you know? Then
Where you start
there
from.
are two levels of abuse. There's abuse by orientation. There's abuse by interaction. Interaction is what we talk about the most, where somebody taught a child this toy.
Touches, yeah.
Orientation, plain adult content in kids' party.
Yeah. And
Is-
Yeah.
telling them and
Yeah.
As
they're
mothers
twerking,
bring iPad out,
twerking
that's
and
abuse.
splitting.
That
That's
is
abuse,
abuse.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
abuse by orientation. When you watch adult, the movie is rated
18.
18.
Let's even say 13. And
13.
the child is 6.
And
Yeah.
you know what is even rated 13 right now?
It's
Should be
explicit. Yeah.
So you give access to that, and you are wondering, what's going on here.
They're watching music videos and
I
MTV
remember-
bits
And
where
they're
they're
almost
I
naked.
remember when they were going to do Nick Fest or something like that. Yeah.
Even the cartoons.
that
No, Nick Fest
Nickelodeon
in
something.
Nigeria. And when we saw the artist that they brought to perform, immediately I reached out to Nigerian breweries, and I sent a mail to say, I think Kufre was there at that time, to say, why are you bringing this kind of artist to come and perform
to
children? I don't think this is right and this is fair because this is abuse. And I think they said to me, they said, Praise, if you can get, 100, I think 100,000 parents to petition us, we will swap them.
Are you kidding?
Yes, I went on social media, made a lot of noise.
Nobody.
All these parents who you said, praise your own is too much. Allow these children to enjoy.
And so the artist came, of course.
Of course, we couldn't get 100. We couldn't get 100 parents to write to Nigerian birds. Yeah. And that was when I knew that,
there's trouble.
Then when their children are now molested or abused, they'll be running around. And also, we have not talked about the rise of the Nigerian porn industry.
Absolutely.
It's crazy. You don't want to know what it is. It is.
You can share a little bit.
Yeah.
It's I followed. I do research on porn, and I started researching porn in the year 2003.
Is this for personal use? Or professional use?
I was researching porn for this, now in 2003, between 2003 and 2007,
This is just how we talk.
if you go online and say you are looking for a Nigerian porn or Niger porn, you will not find.
You'll find.
Between 2006 to 2009, you will find a name, one name, Afro Candy.
I think I've heard of
That's the only name, but you will not find any of our
anyone
videos.
else.
I think our video is
You have to pay for it.
or something like that.
Premium.
You will not find it online, no matter how much you try. So all we had were American.
Yes,
So
Asians. and
those
others.
days it was there were no internet access was not this. So you have to go to cyber cafe. So I will go overnight and I'll see guys. I'll observe their browsing porn all through the night and stuff. So then from 2010 there was Afrinoli. Afrinoli started, and they started shooting porn, but it was still
Really?
it was not hard porn, hardcore.
Okay,
It was
so
soft. It was soft. They were they masked.
Okay.
So you won't
So
find the
that's it.
Nigerian thing.
Wow.
I remember telling Omojua that year that Omojua, do you know you can find porn on, because you're not supposed to find porn on YouTube? So I said, Omojua, there's porn on YouTube, and it's Nigerian. He said, no, it's not possible. I said, go and check. So I gave him, I said, type Afri Nolly. And he found porn on YouTube. They've taken it out right now. Then from 2000, and at that time, those girls who started shooting porn and max, they were earning 2,000 naira to shoot. Their headquarters was in Asaba. That was where they shot most of those porn. Then from 2013, 2013, they went haywire.
They went loose.
So they started, you could see the
See their
Nigerian
faces.
face, you could know that this is a proper Nigerian, you could. Then I began to get into that industry to find out the people who
were making it.
Yeah.
Then I found out that there were musicians who were investing heavily, but you won't see them
Or their name.
their names publicly, so you just see a patron, someone who is like the person at the forefront, but they are at the back and supplying funding.
Wow.
And at that point, they were paying, I think it had become $100.
Wow.
Yeah.
From 2K.
Yeah, from 2K, it had become
That's
$100.
not
So
bad.
the moment it became
You
$100,
sure I'm gonna be twerking it a little bit?
more girls went
Flocked
in there,
in.
What?
more guys went in there. So it became
It's now an industry.
and the largest consumers were ages
Ages. What?
ages 8 to about 17. The largest consumers were Nigerian, and each of the porn that they upload had about 400,000 views.
Wow.
Do you understand? So what now began to happen was every guy, and well, not every guy, many of the guys now began to see the need. That was when it now became a fad to sleep with a girl and record it.
And record it.
Wow.
And post it.
Yeah.
And they began to
Because
post
that's
it.
porn,
They
isn't
began
it?
to use it to blackmail.
Yes.
In fact, all the sex leaks in this country, one Babcock girl and blah 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 blah. Every of those things are now on porn sites. Yeah, the internet never forgets. People are making a lot of money from the clicks and
sex sells.
and sex.
Right.
Sex.
Sex
The rate
sells.
of up to now, Nigerian porn actually is competing heavily with American porn. But now there is Ghanaian porn, because once Nigeria takes it, Ghana will take it.
Ghana will
So there
take
is
over.
Nigeria, Ghana. So in that particular order, Nigeria is highest, Ghana, then South Africa, Kenya, Zambia, Uganda, Angola, Cameroon.
Wow.
Niger is jogging now to join them. And then Benin Republic.
Yeah.
Slow
As in,
motion.
it's crazy. The level of pawn shops during lockdown.
Yo, guys, this wasn't supposed to be the conversation, but yo,
It's so
it
crazy.
is. It's
Now,
needed.
So when the children now
needed, yo.
go in there, and there's a psychology of the thing with Nigerians is because I interviewed quite a number. In fact, I was going to interview some of the actresses, but lockdown didn't allow me.
Please, we have to do it.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
The main person actually volunteered to talk to
Please,
me.
let's do it.
Now, so the thing now is the children. So if a Nigerian child hears masturbation, they're curious with their gadget. They go on masturbation. What they see are Nigerian content because the internet will scan.
Right. Since you're local.
And there is this psychology thing about if it was a white person, you're first going to lose interest as a white person. But when you see your kind, that becomes easy to.
This is what I should do.
Addiction. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's why when you began to hear rape, this person raped this one, this person raped. Because on porn side, there are violent porn.
Yeah.
There are underage porn. There are porn with teenagers and whatever Nigerian students with uniform and blah blah blah. In fact, I was working with a girl. And the girl told me, said, "Sir," I said, "Why did you allow someone, the person allowing you penetrate? Okay. Why did you give someone a blowjob?" And she said to me, "Everyone in my class does it." So I said, "Is it that the teachers are not aware?" This is secondary school. He said, "No, that what we do is when we want to do this thing, is like a version of truth and dare." So when we want to do it, what we do is, we get someone who is checking the teachers, right? And every other person
is watching.
So she was the last person who had not really done it. And now it became
it was like an initiation.
So they felt that as long as if she wasn't part of them,
she will go and rat on them.
So she said, "We don't snitch." Now that I'm part, we don't snitch on. That was the word, So, and I was looking at this 14-year-old, and I'm like, so those are the next generation of porn actors and actresses loading. During lockdown, we noticed that I started noticing on DPs of teenagers that once it was 2 a.m. you just see penis, you will see stuff on people's DP. So I began to investigate. Then I realized that between 2 a.m. during lockdown,
when people are sleeping,
to 4 a.m. is when they do truth or dare all over the internet.
Wow. I dare you to post your
penis. So they will post the penis. So
wow.
They will now, so I now ask them.
You know this guy T-Wise?
No.
So I asked them, so what happens at 4? They said that's when our parents wake up. So they replace it with Jesus is Lord.
Hey,
Jesus is my Savior. They put the name of a man of God there. But what had happened between 2 a.m.
and 4?
Question. Why didn't parents collect the gadgets?
At 16 years old.
These were not 16-year-olds.
12 years old.
Yes. So you can see what we're dealing with. Now, and you see the point.
We have even created the environment.
Yeah.
So it's coming back to the environment, because we also have to talk about how do we then prevent? Because these are the issues. How do we backtrack?
It's tough, and I'll tell you why it's tough. Even like NBC that showed. I remember when I was I had a show on what's the name of the station now? Now they're Max FM. It used to be Radio Continental. TVC. When I had a show on TVC, my show used to be 8:30 p.m. And every time I had a teacher on sexuality, once I mentioned penis, right, they will get a query. Radio Continental will get a query from NBC.
Meanwhile,
in fact, NBC actually had to send them a final warning to say they were going to close down their station if they don't either move me backward. So they had to move me to 10 o'clock and things like that. And that was what they did. But the same NBC, when Naira Marley sang a song this year, the title of the song, Dido Lobo, that the vagina is for penetration. Olamide also sang a song, Emado, and that video showed nurses having sex, in the facility, in the hospital. What did NBC do?
Nothing.
What did corporate Nigeria do? They still endorse.
They were loving it.
Yeah.
So these are the issues.
They will invite
Malians
them
for life.
yeah,
So
to
these
come
are,
and do
these are the
concerts.
things. So when we endorse what we
Yeah.
should
We should
repel,
repel.
Yeah, what we should
then
repel.
it becomes very tough. And
Yeah.
when you see people that people look up to, say, I'm
Yes,
Italian.
I'm a Malian.
Mm.
And we don't wear
I am,
pants and
and I'm like, you're too
You're too old to be
you're
a
too
Malian.
old for this shit, man.
You know, but
You're
they
too
don't say
old.
it. So as in it's a whole racket,
Yeah.
as it were,
Yeah.
that I've been in this field for 20
yeah,
years.
you'll be too,
Yeah.
you're too much for them.
The more you work is as if
You're not
You're not doing anything
then
at
you
all.
just give up.
Yeah.
Like you're
To say-
dropping, you're taking
Yeah.
a cup of water
Because
from the ocean.
It's just crazy what is going on.
Yeah.
You know, in the
Wow.
life of the young people, in the life of so an average. I mean, they brought a girl to my office in age 8 who had 60 pound size that morning. So I asked her when he said it was when she was driving the school bus the previous day that a boy was talking about some of the porn site she had not had the word porn before.
Oh, no.
So the boy said, there's a
And she
new
went
porn.
online
You want
straight.
porn? You know, it was talk, just saying, you know, this way age 7, 8, 9 in the school bus. You know, I saw that porn. I saw that. So she got home, she had a gadget,
Wow.
and she typed porn.
Wow.
Then she started consuming.
Guys.
So you realize that the dimension of child sexual abuse
Yes.
has taken
It's a different dimension.
different dimensions. So
Yeah.
we're no longer waiting for the person who's going to touch you. Some people are
You're
touching
touching
themselves.
yourself.
In fact, there was a year I went to Asaba. I went to Port Harcourt. And I walked. That was when I knew that the age of sexual initiation in Nigeria was 7. I worked more with 7-year-olds who were sexually active that year. Then I found out that more children were sexually abusing children than even adults abusing children.
Wow.
So how do you prosecute that one? Where I remember a 9-year-old told me that, sir, I have raped 3 girls
What?
in the last 1 month. So I thought he didn't know what he was talking about. I said, you are
What do you
raped.
mean?
What is rape? He said, the forcefully have sex with them. He said, what you just said right now, touching, that's what I'm telling you. So I literally another girl told me, said, sir, everybody in my house lives with me. She was 12. Apparently she had teenagers in the house, so she was when they were experimenting. So I left Port Harcourt with so much heavy heart.
Of course.
Got to Lagos the following week, I was flying to Abuja. So I sat beside the senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Boroface, I think that's his name. You know, so I was talking to him about the fact that children are being sexually molested, and more children are molested. You know what he said to me? He said, "Praise, don't be ridiculous. Ages 8 and 9 don't have erection now." I said, how can ages 8 have
Oh my
erection?
goodness.
How they can't have an erection?
Oh my goodness.
I just give up. So we, as in,
Oh my
it's
goodness.
bad because when we're growing up, you know, you have to go out of the way to find
now
porn.
it finds you.
Playboy,
Or you're playing one. I saw my daughter. She was playing on the tablet and it was cartoon. But I'm like, why is this Catman kissing the Catwoman? So I said, what is this? She said, so I said, I know what to do. I first of all disabled it, downloaded the YouTube Kids for her, and I gave it back to her. I'm like, what is going on?
So it's a sexualized world and sex sells.
Yeah.
You know, but you know Nigeria.
And then, you know, there's also now the dark web.
Oh, don't go there.
That one is another life on its
Don't go there.
own.
It's like underground Lagos. You know there's underground Lagos. You know there's underground Lagos.
What was underground Lagos?
Underground Lagos is different from Lagos. The Lagos that we go
That you see,
is
that's
exactly.
the Lagos.
Underground Lagos is under
So
Lagos.
if you drive through maybe Allen,
Oh
in the
my
daytime.
God.
go and drive through maybe Allen
At
1 a.m.
night time.
It's a different.
It's a different.
underground.
So that's so there are places where people take their wives to for swinger sex.
Yes.
In
Yes,
Lagos.
in Lagos now.
You know,
Yes.
so that's underground Lagos. What happens there is it's anyway. So I mean, there's a whole lot to talk about in the new year.
Okay,
Our
so
time is,
I think we've gone past
we've gone past our time. So it's Merry Christmas to.
Wow.
Yeah, don't be so quick to just, just discard and dispel people just
No,
like
we're not
that.
dispelling people, I'm
Yeah,
just-
we
I'm
just,
just-
we
Sorry,
ease
guys.
into it,
This
man.
is really there's a lot to talk about with sexual
A lot,
abuse.
a lot.
Child
Child
sexual abuse.
sexual abuse. I know of certain people who have been, have gone different ways in terms of their sexuality just because they were abused as children.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I
don't remember, but
Oh, you've gone different ways?
Yes. It's,
But
it's part of my story. My story. And I'm
so-
not ashamed of my story.
Yeah, we've had different people, do different things to people. I mean, a lot of men that you talk to, they'll tell you that they were disvirgined by their house helps. And even there you go, and even girls as well.
They were also disvirgined by their house girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without even going to secondary school or any of those things, because we're either too busy or we don't believe them, or so there's a lot, and we're also dealing with our own personal issues. And I think that's where the main problem is. The parents are actually damaged as well, and they don't know how to get out of where they are.
Damaged people can't raise all something.
I mean, hurt people will hurt people generally. And so we need to start to have these conversations. There's already a lot of damage out there. There's already a lot of problems and issues out there. But how do we then start to give some form of help?
Mm.
And it's something that we need to start to discuss. How do we start to help our kids? How do we start to get to them?
I think we have to help the parents first.
Oh, well.
Anyway.
Yeah, I mean it's almost ending like on a sad note.
Yeah, like on it's very melancholic.
Yeah,
but that's what it is. It's heavy, and we don't want to spoil your Christmases tomorrow. So we will pick up this next year, and then we will dig deep into it, and we'll share probably some real life stories that maybe people are going to volunteer to come on here. We'll interview people on these issues. Then that this thing is deep. And if you have a child who has not been touched, please do everything, because when you get touched, your life never remains the same. And because it actually literally steals your identity, that you stop being a being that must be respected. Start seeing yourself as a thing that must be used. So but I mean, tomorrow is Christmas, and we hope you guys will send us a piece of chicken and
Happy holidays, guys.
Thank you all so much for staying with us since October. Up through now. I mean, like it's been really cool and awesome.
Like forever.
Our emails are open. It is realdeepconvos@gmail.com. Keep the conversation going. If you have questions, feedback, if there's anything you want to talk about, experiences that you would like to come on and share next year, please give us a holler. We will be there to respond. Thank you all so much. So grateful. Have a wonderful Christmas. I think you have some comments and things like
all of them are just hailing us, telling us thank you for the show. People are learning. Whoa, I mean, thank you. We love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much
for joining us.
And Real Deep Convos will see you in the new year.
Yes,
2021.
And we pray it will be a COVID-free year.
Well, yeah.